Ladies and gentlemen, the wordsmith requests the presence of Michael Fazio. And here he is. Michael Fazio is on the scene to give you all the news that's fit to print, and so is my friend Flying Circus. Welcome to the machine. Will you be quiet, Digger? We have a big update today, but we had a request. So the request, this is real-time requests made by the Jack Thompson. So what happened is Jack Thompson's credit card failed him this week. Whereas when he was super chatting, it took a spelunkering into a cave somewhere. So Jack went specifically to the bank this week to get a new credit card specifically to prove a point. And that would be that his money goes to the only legit on the internet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my show notes. But first, I want you to understand that in tomorrow's live stream, I'm going to put the concept of the bottom of the top of the bottom of the flat earth up for sale. So if you know a movie producer, if you can get in touch with Steven Spielberg or somebody like that, I would appreciate it. Thank you. And you'll get of course, you'll get your 10%. You're in. So what's going to happen tomorrow is Digger, who you know as Digger, and you know him because of the spoon he carries. Digger's spoon is going to get upgraded to what we know and love as Digger 2.0 on the bottom and the top of the bottom of the flat earth. But Digger's spoon apparently is getting him into heaps of trouble with the Obama administration, the secreting service, and the pole dancers at Interpol's main office itself, which is associated with the Scotland Yard princesses. And what we're going to do tomorrow is, if an update is available from the Interpol pole dancers extravaganza, if the update is available, and we're waiting for an update, we were told 1 month for the update to be processed, the paperwork to go into effect, and that will cover a multitude of sins that have been committed in social media. So we were told a month, and we're getting close to that month. We're more than halfway there. So let me give you today's show notes. Shiny Rhythm Vlog. I remember you. You do rap music, if I remember correctly. Welcome to the machine. Let me get to my show notes. And I want to add something about show notes. I keep hearing these stories, how people don't make show notes, and yet somebody's making show notes of everything everyone says on YouTube. So the one problem with the show notes, apparently there is someone out there with a very, 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 very gamai IQ. And the person keeps getting stuff what we call transposed or upside down or backwards or misplaced information at the front of the sentence and the back of the sentence. I would appreciate it if you're going to take show notes, take proper show notes or write them down and read them from a screen. Like that new and up and coming vlogger, Fat Slob Vlogs. He has proper show notes, and he does several shows a day, and he looks at his paper. He's not embarrassed to look at his paper and leave the show notes that he has written for each individual rant that he runs on different bloggers. Now, the one thing I could say about Fat Slob Vlogs is some of the stuff is pretty egregious. Some of it's funny. But one thing that I told Fat Slob Vlogs would help his channel was to put on something with some content. And what did he do? A few days ago, he posted a vlog that I found very interesting. I found out that Fat Slob Vlogs, I think it was 1986, 87, was stationed, I think, in Subic Bay as a rifleman for the United States Air Force, if I remember correctly, or possibly the Navy. I did forget that part. And then Carlos, Subic Bay Danger, confirmed what Fat Slob Vlogs said in his video, whatever he wants to call those things. So that was content. That was the first video, I would say, that he put content in. So basically, I gave him a suggestion. I have no idea if any attention or even saw my suggestion, but that's the kind of thing you have to put in if you're gonna be in the Philippines or any other vlogging community. You got to put a little bit of truth or content in with your rants. You just can't keep going on and on and on and on and shoving your face in the camera and saying this, that, and the other thing. People want to hear content. So Fat Slob Vlogs, you get a thumbs up for the only video I've seen with content, except for when you were eating 2 ice creams. That was pretty good content. That ice cream looked good. And that's a little bit of content. The hotel rooms, that's content. But the Subic Bay thing, that was content. So you gotta have a little bit of content. So Fat Slob Vlogs, I will take a little bit of credit, maybe, possibly, that he's starting to come around to understand what it takes to be a real life vlogger in the genre. Now I have the hat on because I had to go to the store and get something. And I just did 7K on the bike. It took about, well, to get there and back, 7 kilometers took about 9.5 minutes. Because the package I was waiting for was already at the post office. So thanks for understanding. I was a minute late on my live stream. Scott was worried, where am I? But let's get to my notes. Let me read that there's some wordsmithing going on here. And then we're going directly to the show notes. Hold on a second. So this is going to be Digger's. Digger's going to get upgraded tomorrow to a bigger spoon. And we're going to choose the method of execution if Digger is found guilty on the top of the bottom of the bottom of the top of the flat earth. We're going to choose. And how are we going to choose that method? We are going to use our credit cards to vote. I want you to vote hard. I want you to vote often. And I want you to vote with your conscience. If you find that Digger did something wrong, something egregious, some insignificant little thing, then turn it into a big thing with numbers. We're talking about numbers. We're talking about super chat after super chat after super chat after super chat. Don't let this thing get away from you. Tomorrow, there's going to be 3 methods of execution. Your credit card votes will count. So let's go. I got to put this down so I can get these on. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start reading the real comments. We have, says Scott the Fuego, the wordsmith, we have, on an evening when Ruth Ginsburg has died. That's an amazing thing. And changed the character of the Supreme Court and the presidential election. An ideal opportunity to become elevated and educated by our friend and philosopher of the common working man, Mr. Michael Fazio. Take advantage, and like a weary traveler in the clear waters of a rare oasis, baffle and relax in the intellect of Michael Fazio. Salamat. Thank you very much. That was nice. And that was the highlight of my day, knowing and learning that Ruth Ginsburg had passed away. Now, why? Not because I didn't like her, because I don't know a damn thing about Ruth Ginsburg. I don't know anything about the woman. All I know is that she was very, very old, okay? And I'm going to tell you two things about these politicians. One, they have the best medical and health insurance and care in the world. It's probably all equal to the president. So they live to a ripe old age. But as far as I could see, when the last time I saw her talk, which was about a year and a half ago, she was a little incoherent. There's a lot of people on YouTube that are a little incoherent. But she had no business and no right whatsoever, in my opinion, to be making judgments about world affairs for the United States government. I don't believe she had the cognitive ability to do such, and these appointments are for life, and she played it right up until the end. And that is just, I don't think that's fair to the American people. Because unless somebody is what we call progressive and progressive in learning and progressive in understanding and have a cognitive ability, and I don't think she had any of that, then they're stuck. She might have been stuck in the 1960s or the 1970s. I don't know. But I know that she was not sharp. She was not crisp on her ideas. She had slurred speech. She was not coherent, exactly what I would call coherent. And I don't think she had any right to be judging or making judgments on the Supreme Court. So I'm not glad she passed away, but I'm glad she's off the Supreme Court, which might be the same thing. Who knows? So we have Flying Circus comes in, 100%. That's right. I mean, Flying Circus, we know, is a character of good standing everywhere on YouTube. No matter where Flying Circus goes, everybody says hello. And Flying Circus had, and I say had as in past tense, had one of the most creative and brilliant channels on YouTube until he decided to take a leave of absence. So I don't know if Flying Circus is still posting videos. I haven't been to his channel. But if Flying Circus decides to come back on and put some of that creative genius back on, I sure hope he posts those links on my page and on my videos, because some of that stuff was beyond anything that anybody I know could do. It was beyond our ability. Probably equaled, or maybe surpassed, or slightly less than the great, and when I say great, Dick Insider. Now, he was a man of honor, as is Flying Circus. He was a man of honor who had the ability to come on, and when his personal home was doxed on YouTube, he made a video talking about the doxing of his house and his car, because he's a man of honor and he doesn't like the fact that he got doxed, and he came on and talked about the fact that he was a veteran and he had veterans disability benefits, and for somebody to come on and make fun of his home and or castle, he did not like that idea at all. And that I will give Dick Insider so much credit for coming on and saying that he admitting and making you understand that he was a disabled veteran, and for whatever reason, he did not deserve to be doxxed. His house was put up on the internet. His car was made fun of, when in fact, I know his real name, but I would never say it. He was doing what he could with the funds that were available to work with to do what he could to make his life comfortable. And for somebody to dox Dick and Cider on the internet is probably not legal. Okay, now we're going to talk about illegal things. We're going to get to my notes in a moment. We are going to talk about some things that I believe are illegal and why Mr. Obama is going to try to extradite Digger 2.0 to Washington, D.C. to be processed through an extradition treaty that they have with the Scotland Yard dancers and the Interpol dancers. They're all dancers. They all dance around, in skirts and shit like that. But they're all like that, but not like that exactly. But some of them probably do. There's a lot of guys in government that do that shit. And the NSA. Now, the NSA is coming out of and going to get involved with this topic because there's only one reason the NSA is going. I didn't get to my notes yet, so hang tight on that. The NSA is going to get involved with this because somewhere along the whole process of everything that has occurred in the last several months, believe it or not, yours truly was accused, and I got to tell you, this is funny, was accused because of these two nuts. See these two nuts? These two nuts. Supposedly, now I don't know if it ever happened, but supposedly a bulletin or a memorandum or a report went out because of these two nuts and the fact that I said that if you smash these two nuts together at 523 kilometers per second, if you smash these together, and they were made out of a certain radioactive element, this would be what is called in the nuclear field of nuclear physics, similar to what is called a nuclear gun bomb, which is the original method, one of three original methods to cause a thermonuclear reaction. Now, I could give you the exact, way that this would have to happen, how many miles per second it would have to be, but the fact that yours truly was implicated in building a nuclear bomb, which I ran by several major authorities. Okay, so before before I was finished with the sentence that I have been accused of building a nuclear bomb in the Philippines, before I was finished within the Philippines, every police officer and agency that I spoke to that about was laughing. But more than that, Interpol was also notified via a third party. And the cybercrimes unit in another country was notified, and they laughed. They all laughed before the last sentence was complete. Last part of the sentence was complete. So basically, Big E and I had a conversation about this a while back, that let's just say that Mr. Duterte, by the way, that video that was put up saying that Mr. Duterte by another vlogger, so-called vlogger, saying that the Philippines government doesn't give a damn or a poop about their people, that has been passed on to the authorities. I got to tell you, those videos, those kind of videos, the demeaning the government of the Philippines and implicating that you can possibly bribe police or the NBI or any other agencies in the Philippines. That stuff goes into a special folder that'll be round. And so Mr. Duterte, if he decided that he wanted to build a nuclear power plant, which, by the way, there is one in the Philippines that was built about 30 years ago but never completed, which would have to be disassembled and rebuilt. Somebody said something about upgrading it. But let's just say Mr. Duterte decided to build a nuclear power plant, which you would need in order to get the radioactive elements to make a nuclear bomb. The Philippines doesn't have the money to build a nuclear power plant. It doesn't. So let me just tell you how to build a nuclear bomb. Let's go through this. So first of all, you need what is called a heavy water plant. So you need to build a heavy water plant to put the radioactive isotopes in. Now, I don't know how you do that, but it's big. You can't put it in a balikbayan box and ship it from wherever to here. Okay, so number one. Number two, you need about 2 square miles of land. So even though Warren Hunt, my partner, and I are looking at new land acquisitions, multiple land acquisitions in the Philippines, we still couldn't afford 2 square miles, even with all the super chat I get. Because, of course, remember, I have to pay taxes on the super chat, and also I have taxes from the United States government, and now I have Philippines tax that has to be reconnoitered as well. So if Mr. Duterte wanted to build a nuclear bomb, he'd have to build a heavy water plant, or there is a place in Switzerland, there's a lake that they can use the water from that lake, which is closer to heavy water than real heavy water, but usable for a heavy water plant. That's what Mr. Hitler was using. So I need a heavy water plant that takes up. Then I need a gas. The best way to get radioactive isotopes out of a compound is the gaseous diffusion method. That's what they used to get the nuclear fissionable materials for little boy and big boy. They used 3 different processes. They used electromagnetic bombardment to separate the heavier elements. So that was like a laser beam, but it would shoot these particles through a microscopic hole, like less than the width of an electron. And those electrons were the heavy particles. And then they would build up on the other side of this lead shield. But it took like many months of constant 24-hour-a-day bombardment to get a couple of grams of nuclear radioactive elements. So that didn't work, but it worked. But it would have took years to get enough. I think it was plutonium. All right, that's one. Then they had the gaseous that eventually worked. I'm not sure of that process exactly, but you could look it up. Gaseous diffusion method. And then, of course, you could just order it online from Lazada.com, because I understand they had a supply even back then. You could just order radioactive isotopes on Lazada.com back in the 1930s. So those were the only 3 methods, but Lazada didn't ship radioactive elements. They couldn't get what they needed without sending somebody here, and Lazada doesn't have a physical address. It's only online, and they didn't build the internet yet back then, so nobody could find out where Lazada's address was to order this stuff. Plus, you had to order it with a credit card, which wasn't available until much later. So there was a lot of problems with getting this shit from where it was to where it needed to be inside the gun bomb. So theoretically, if Mr. Duterte said he'd need a gaseous diffusion plant, he'd need a heavy water plant, he'd also need a nuclear reactor, and then he'd need nuclear reactor ponds to put the stuff in. So these are things that would cost, from starting, if he did not get any help, I think it was $3 billion in 1942 dollars, but in today's money, it might be 3 trillion. I'm a little bit short, so I'm not going to build a nuclear power. And I think that the pole dancers at Interpol know that. I'm probably not planning on building a nuclear power plant. Probably. I didn't say I wouldn't do it. I'm just saying that the idea is going to, I forgot the other thing. It would take one person, maybe 32 million lifetimes to do all this work. And by the time the concrete work was done for the nuclear power plant, 32 million lifetimes later, that concrete would have disintegrated. And then they would have to start again. So it's just not possible. It took several 100,000 people, $3 billion, and 8 years to produce, I think it was a pound of plutonium. So I'm probably not going to be able to move through those steps. But now that Lazada has plutonium on sale for $12 a kilo, of course, if someone wants to take the time to buy a couple of kilos of that shit, so let's just go through how plutonium kills you. Let's say this was a piece of plutonium. It won't kill you. You can hold plutonium in your hand in its entirety. You can hold a block of it, a piece of it, or a section of it. Not a problem. Not a problem. But you have to wash your hands off and your cuticles off. However, ingest just 1/1000th of an ounce of plutonium into your system, that causes problems. So plutonium in and of itself, and it's not even expensive plutonium. Shit, anybody on the internet could afford to buy the shit. It's not expensive anymore. It's only like $1 million a pound. I mean, shit, you could order that and then plus shipping from Lazada. So let's get back to the more realistic stuff on YouTube. Dennis Adams. Hello, Michael. Welcome to the machine, Dennis Adams. Dennis Adams, we love you, Dennis. Thanks for stopping by. So let's get back. I'm going to do my notes now. We're going to talk about Digger's demise, the possible demise. And let me get to my notes. So I will show you my notes. Jack Thompson, apparently his credit card is still not working because nothing is happening. He requested this special live stream this morning. So Jack Thompson was in a 5-star hotel this morning when his credit card got turned off this week because he's been staying in a 5-star hotel with, well, I won't tell you, it's a very famous movie star that was born in Boston that Jack grew up with. And he's been in that room for about 5 days now, and he had to get a new credit card, and he wanted to test it out today. So apparently Jack's credit card is not working properly. And I'm real sorry to hear that. So tomorrow we're going to announce that I'm going to officially have a document, an official document that I'm looking to sell the concept of the bottom of the flat earth in its entirety to a movie production company or a studio for an X amount of dollars that I will discuss with anybody that wants to bid on the concept